Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to Nerd Week Live here on YouTube, brought to you by the folks at Nerd Caliber, in this case tonight. The Folk. I'm flying solo tonight. It's the summer, people are doing stuff, things are happening. What can you do about it? And let me introduce this folk. I am Rodney Brown, the editor in chief of Nerd Caliber, and I am also first person shooter on Facebook and other places on the interwebs. As a cosplay photographer, as a tech journalist, I'm Burley_adopter on Twitter, and probably a bunch of other things if I could really think about it. And get a second, get back to there we go. Get back to the good stuff. So let's see. We don't have a whole lot of other things for people to promote because there's nobody else here on to promote. I will tell you one thing. We have on the website, www.nerdcaliber.com right now, a giveaway. So if you're interested in the upcoming series Pennyworth, Epix TV is making this series about the life of Alfred Pennyworth just after he was an SAS Special Forces agent or soldier for Britain, and as he has established a security company in 1960s London, takes on his biggest client, Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's dad. Sarah Felipe, hola. And of course, Venom, hola. I've already said it in the chat, but here it is, like live on the air. Ish. Air? YouTube air? Anyway. Epix is putting out the very first episode in theaters. So this Thursday, in a bunch of theaters, for us in our area here in Massachusetts, is the Kendall Square Cinema in Cambridge. We have the opportunity to work with the marketing company to give away a bunch of free passes. The screening will include free refreshments, unspecified. I think it would be hilarious if it was British tea, but, you know. It probably won't be gin, which would also be pretty appropriate, but, kids and stuff. And we just found out today that they are also giving out free special edition Batman comics for anybody who wants to attend. Prince Beezy, hey, how you doing? So if you're in the Eastern Mass area and you want to go see the first episode of Pennyworth on the big screen, go to www.nerdcaliber.com, check out the article about the event, and click on the link and go get your passes and stuff. So having said that, since I am solo, Prince Beezy, this is exactly what it says, Nerd Week Live. It's a nerd news show where we look back at some of the news items that happened in the past week. Sweet Panda 4, there you go. And welcome to the show. So usually we have a larger roster here, and as I was just about to say, since I'm flying solo tonight, this is probably going to be a pretty quick show, probably about 30 minutes or so. We'll get you all back to your video games and to your Netflixes or whatever else it is that you're out there doing, and hopefully staying cool. If you're here in the States, it's pretty hot everywhere. Anyway, up on our first topic. So that right there that just popped up on your screens is, of course, Taika Waititi directing Chris Hemsworth in Thor Ragnarok. And the news is that they will be working together on Thor 4. This has been confirmed by a number of sources. Deadline had it first this morning about 11 o'clock with a confirmation from, I would assume, Marvel Studio sources that it's going to happen, folks. Thor 4... that's all the fourth Thor movie. It doesn't have a title. It might be as Guardians of the Galaxy. Who knows? Probably not, realistically. But anyway, they're coming back to do it. Yes, there's going to be a Thor 4, Panda. And that is awesome. I agree with you 100%. I love the idea. I thought that that Ragnarok was hilarious. I thought it was exactly what the Thor franchise and frankly, the MCU franchise needed as we were building up towards the awfulness, or the wonderful awfulness, the emotionally awfulness that was Endgame. So, but anyway, there's some bad news to go with this, and the bad news, unfortunately, has to do with that. We talked about this literally just 3 weeks ago when the news came out that Taika Waititi was tapped to do something for the upcoming Akira movie. And we didn't know for sure what it was then. It's pretty clear now that it was, he was, maybe will be, the director of it, because the news is that this means Warner Brothers has shelved the Akira movie pretty much indefinitely, according to every source and report I've read. And yeah, he's been only into casting this movie for the last 2 weeks, and something came up, something that every one of the articles describes as possibly budgetary concerns. They all describe them as, disagreements at least, if not conflicts, with visions of the way things are going. Deadline specifically describes it as a difficulty with casting ethnically correct characters in a high-budget movie. And the way that's phrased implies that what it means is that the studio, since it is a big-budget movie, wanted big-name, big-budget actors, not necessarily always ethnically correct actors. Other articles have said very specifically that Waititi was casting young Japanese actors for the movie. And in the States, there aren't a whole lot of big box office draw young Japanese actors, like zero. So that Akira is off indefinitely, not like, it was supposed to come out March 21st, 2021. Nobody is saying even if it will happen at this point. And it was very, very close back in 2012. And yet again, that director, whose name escapes me, not anyone I recognize right off the bat, that director also wound up leaving the project over budgetary concerns. So this, I don't know if this Akira movie is ever going to happen. And it's really sad. I do know that Thor 4 is going to happen, because once they've made this announcement, Marvel isn't going to go back on this. And the two of them, that is Waititi and Hemsworth, obviously had a blast making this thing. So, no expected date, of course. It's literally just an announcement, and Marvel still has not yet put out its Phase 4 date or schedule. Waiting for San Diego Comic-Con coming up this weekend. Hopefully, you can't see me do my fingers crossed, can you? Because I've got that picture up there. But anyway, that's what I was doing. Hopefully, we'll get to see some sort of information, or hopefully, like really in-depth information about what the schedule is for Phase 4. But in it now, we do know for sure. Panda, I was reading your people need to see this, and then I got confused. We do know for sure that Thor 4 will be part of Phase 4, along with the others we know, like the Black Panther sequel and so on. Moving on to more comic book news. And this one's pretty obscure, but I love the idea. So the brilliant Brian K. Vaughan had a comic out in 2016 called Paper Girls. And the concept was a bunch of paper girls, which is, the title characters that are up on your screen, get involved in some really weird time travel, science fiction-y, mystery, adventure stuff. And it looks really Brian K. Vaughan out there. Just typical, wonderful science fiction-y, speculative fiction, just so completely out there sort of stuff. And it is going to be a series on, guess what, Amazon, because Amazon's spending all the money. Legendary TV is doing it, and I think Legendary Television and Plan B, the company that did 12 Years a Slave and Moonlight, so yay. So the co-writer of Toy Story 4 is going to do the adaptation, and this the book was Brian K. Vaughan, and Cliff Chang is the artist that's up on your screen right now. Or that's Cliff Chang's art that's up on your screen right now, which would be the more accurate way to say that. This, as they say, expands the relationship with the writer, Folsom, the one that's going to be co-writing or will do the adaptation, with Amazon Studios. So apparently, I'm sorry, Stephanie. I forgot a Y at the end of that name because apparently she is the consulting producer on the Lord of the Rings series, also being made at Amazon. So this looks pretty good. He, of course, wrote Ex Machina, which was turned into a fantastic movie. He is writing Saga, Hugo Award-winning, brilliant, way out there science fiction comic books. So I'm really looking forward to this. Amazon has the money to make it good. Brian K. Vaughan is a freaking genius. And the concept is just wonderfully bizarre. So check that out, folks. Go look that up in the news. Again, just announced that it's going to happen, so with no idea when this will happen. By the way, Legendary TV, in case you didn't know, were the people that did Lost in Space for Netflix. They're doing Carnival Row for Amazon. So that's the upcoming Carla Delevingne. I'm sorry, I can never pronounce her name. The Junie Moon and the sorceress or the enchantress from Suicide Squad, and Valerian's partner. What's her name? In City of a Thousand Planets. Boy, I think she's an awful actress. But co-starring with Orlando Bloom, Legolas himself, in that series. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. They're also making Dune: The Sisterhood, which is the tie-in to the Dune movie. The series, Dune: The Sisterhood, is going to be on Warner Media's new streaming service, HBO Max, which they really should just call HBO's new streaming service, HBO Max. Well, I guess because it's got a lot of other Warner properties in it now that they're all in the same family under AT&T. Anyway, our next piece of news is that is a screenshot from the very first trailer for the upcoming The Kingsman prequel, The Kingsman, and that's the way it is, The Kingsman. And it's the story of the founding of the Kingsmen. Ralph Fiennes, you can see there as the older gentleman, is the person who is tasked with founding this organization that is sort of an independent spy agency serving, monarchies, but any government around the world that needs its help. It is set clearly based on some of the stuff in the trailer right after World War I, which is accurate to the stories from Kingsman and the god-awful Golden Circle. And the cinematography, it looks absolutely fantastic. The war scenes in World War II, or World War I, sorry, are beautiful, if war scenes can be beautiful. The recreation of 1930s, I'm guessing, 1920s probably, London, is fantastic. It looks really good. It looks more serious to some extent than the original Kingsman, and certainly than Golden Circle, which was just dumb at a level that is staggering. But and I like that. Since it's about the founding, it's right after World War I, which was a challenging war for everybody. Sort of for us here in the States, it was devastating for the people of Europe. There was a reason in Europe it was generally known as the war to end all wars, and that deserves a serious tone. Sort of the way they treated it in Wonder Woman. Sort of the way they treated it in Tolkien, his biopic. Looks good, folks. Check it out. Ralph Fiennes is perfect as somebody who is insanely competent and dedicated to crafting this enormous organization. They couldn't have picked a better person. So I like it. Check it out. The trailer is fantastic. Can't wait for the movie. Which Kingsman? Let's find out here. Like they point out here, it has a. They wind up fighting Gregory Rasputin, played by Rhys Ifans, which I think is wonderful, and he gets into a sword fight with him. Sword fighting Rasputin. February 14th, 2020. Cecilia E. back, or hello, and Rhea Reed, hi, how you doing? Welcome to the show, folks. So let's pop that back up there for people who just joined in. That is, of course, we're talking about The Kingsman, the prequel to The Kingsman and Kingsman Golden Circle gag. And it looks really awesome. February 2020 is when it comes out. Ralph Fiennes plays the man who started the whole thing. Speaking of, I don't know if you can call this, from an agent to a thief, that, folks, right there is one of the images from the upcoming CGI Lupin the Third movie. Panda, yeah, there's going to be... So, let's take a little aside here. Panda said, I've heard there's going to be a new It movie. Yes, the book was deliberately split up into two movies where they took the kids were the first part of the movie and the adults were the second part of the movie, or the second movie, as opposed to in the book where they bounce back and forth a little bit through time. Anthony, Russia's greatest love machine, the unkillable Rah-Rah Rasputin. Anthony Chodor says, made a joke about Rah-Rah Rasputin, Russia's greatest love machine. Look, if you don't know the story, folks, look up how many attempts were made on his life. It ultimately took him being stabbed. Let's get back just for a second here before we go back to Lupin. It ultimately took him getting stabbed, shot, poisoned, probably not in that order. I'm assuming the poison happened first, and eventually kicked out of a window into the frozen river in St. Petersburg. So Rasputin was a tough guy to kill. But anyway, getting back to Lupin, who is not Rasputin, he is a thief. He is a staple, a classic of Japanese animation. Lupin the Third, actually. And the first trailer for the new CG movie, Lupin the Third, The First. Yes, that's the title. It just came out, and it is the first CG version of Lupin made. There was, of course, been a bunch of anime series, and then a bunch of movies, all of them pretty traditional standard animation. But now they're going, as you can see on the screen right there, the whole Incredibles, etc. look. They're going full CG, 3D CG, and it looks great. The trailer looks great. The trailer is Japanese, or in Japanese, and it doesn't give us any information whether or not this is going to hit the States anytime soon. It's going to be early December, I think December 1st, but certainly early December of this year is when it's going to premiere. But that doesn't say whether that's going to be in the States or in addition to Japan. My guess is it's going to hit the United States sometime after that, sometime in 2020. But it looks good. They managed to actually get a pretty impressive breast physics jiggle with 3D CG Fumiko, just like in the regular animation version. So I bet somebody spent a lot of time working on that. Oh, God, Anthony, please, God, please, no. Anthony, it will hit the States in the form of a Netflix adaptation. A Netflix redub, aside from the fact that they'll change important factors like whether or not one of the characters admits gay love to another, Evangelion. But please no, not not a live action adaptation. Netflix has not done well with those with anime. Jiggle math, it's like jiggle physics, but easier. So moving on to our next topic. And again, just to round that out, we don't know when it will hit the States, but if you're going to Japan because you love Lupin the Third so much, that'll be early December. That's when you can get to see that. And that's Lupin again. That wasn't the right switch. Speaking of Switch, haha, Switch. See? Get it? That is the Switch Lite that just popped up on your screen. That is the new, smaller handheld version of the Nintendo Switch, and it is horribly misnamed. It is the Nintendo DS Switch version. The reason I say that, it's an expanded DS. You cannot remove the grips on the side. You cannot dock it to anything. You cannot beam it to your TV. It is strictly a handheld device. It is a DS. Or actually, it's Sony's PS Vita is what it is. In fact, now that I think about it, it kind of looks a lot like a PS Vita, doesn't it? And it looks a lot like a Switch too, of course. That's that's what it's all about. But boy, calling this thing a Switch, I guess. It's light, so you can have it for $200, $199.99, September 20th. Yeah, I don't. You can't even call them Joy-Cons anymore, right? Because they can't be unattached. They are permanently attached. That was a response to Anthony. He said, "I wish Nintendo would put proper D-pad on the Joy-Cons." Agreed. But again, I'm not even sure that's the right term to use for this thing, or for the things on the side. They are just grips with controls, because they can't come off. Yeah, so 5.5-inch screen, weighs less than the original Switch hardware. It's about 0.61 pounds. You can get it in the yellow you see, gray or turquoise. Longer lasting battery life, 3 to 7 hours of play. Panda, I am excited for. Panda asks who's excited for BNHA 4th season, and then it's not the same thing we're talking about. That's okay, Panda. You can throw in an interjection every now and then, because I am excited for it. Tons of BNHA cosplayers at the last two conventions I was at PortCon Maine in South Portland, and just last weekend Kineticon, where I didn't see Anthony because he never came in. Anthony. I don't think that's my face up there. No, so you couldn't see me pointing angrily at you, Anthony. Anthony, half the appeal of the Switch is being able to, well, switch. Exactly. That's why the name. Switch between portable and TV mode. That is the reason it's called the Switch. And this is the Switch Vita. Let's call it that. Fight you. I'll fight you. You young whippersnapper, you. Anyway. That's me saying, Anthony, sorry I missed you. It was a bummer knowing that you were there and I didn't get to see you. So that's it, folks. If you want a handheld Nintendo Vita that plays Switch games, except not on your TV, $200 on September 20th, and it's yours. Moving on to, and I think this is pretty cool, actually. That right there, folks, is the very first official female member of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That is Jenica. Jenica is I don't know if I want to give away the story of. So obviously Jenica is not a mutated baby turtle straight out of a shell that grew up with the turtles. How Jenica becomes a turtle, I'll leave it up to you to read the story if you want. But it's a pretty cool story. I like the idea of the design. The mask is different. Apparently, it's got the blue mask shape, but it's yellow. Uniform looks great. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of people cosplay this. I like the sort of Bagnak claws and the bow. So Jenica's apparently an archer and, well, they're all ninjas. So, you know, in this case, this ninja, no, this is actually in the comic book Panda. Panda says, what? I thought this was over because there's the new one on Nickelodeon and it kind of sucks. I haven't seen it, Panda. It's actually getting really good reviews from a lot of people who are big fans of the community. But there are people who don't like it as well, and apparently you're one of them. This is in the comic book. So the comic book is still ongoing, or was picked up again a while ago, and it's currently ongoing. And so this is this character will be in the comic book. Whether this character makes it into the Nickelodeon series or any other series is anybody's guess. My guess is yes, because you've got female representation finally. I mean, their name is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's not the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle boys or anything like that. There's no reason other than the, four rowdy boy dynamic kind of works. There's no reason for there not to be a female character. My guess is that Eastman and Laird just decided they wanted that, four rowdy boys dynamic to play out, which is interesting since it was very specifically based on both the X-Men and then, of course, generally the Daredevil storyline of the Hand, the Foot Clan instead of the Hand Clan, ninjas, etc. Why there isn't an equivalent of Jean Grey or Elektra in the original comics, I have no idea. Well, now there is. Finally. How long before the not-so-easily triggered crowd starts screeching about a female turtle? Anthony asks, and I haven't looked. I bet they're screaming already. But I'm not going to pay attention to it because that's stupid. Moving on to our last topic, folks. And yeah, we're probably going to wrap this up within pretty close to a half an hour. That's not our last topic. That's the turtle. This is our last topic. And speaking of things that people are going to whine about, that is actual artwork for the upcoming, thank God it's finally being released, Superman Smashes the Klan. We've been talking about this for almost a year now when it was first announced, and it was announced, oddly enough, as one of the titles that was going to appear under the DC Youth imprints, and they had two, DC Ink and DC Zoom. And now that, as we talked about this last week, if you were on, DC has completely rearranged its titles, in the process killing the Vertigo imprint, although realistically absorbing it into just DC, or DC Black what? Black, what do they call that? Black, DC Black, yeah. Well, we still got this one, and we're going to talk about this one a little bit, Panda. Panda wanted more news, but oh well. We try to do 6 to 7, because when we've got 2 or 3 people on, that comes pretty close to an hour, because we all talk a lot. So when it's just me, it usually cuts down pretty quickly. However, what I was saying about Vertigo ended and got absorbed into either DC or DC Black something, and it's killing me that I can't remember the name. It's like the name of a rock band, actually. But it's not the Black Motorcycle Club. But anyway. So DC now has just 3 imprints. Zoom and Ink are in DC Youth. Anything not targeted to under 12 is in DC, and that would be 12 and forever. And then for the stuff that is definitely 18 and above, they have the new DC Black something. Black Label. There we go. Because it reminded me of Johnny Walker. So DC Black Label is going to have all of the adult stuff. The reason I'm talking about that is that they have shown this artwork and announced the actual release date of this because it is still targeted towards the DC youth market. Superman Smashes the Klan. Although why he's punching a Nazi here in a Klan story, I don't know. But yes, please, more Nazi punching. More Klan punching. Punch all the white supremacists, always, all the time. And I got to tell you, folks, it's weird that this story came up just these last couple of days because something like this hit really just strangely close to home last night. I live in Marblehead. It's a small community on the coast of Mass, right next to the Witch City, Salem, Halloween, all that sort of stuff. And I'm about 100 yards or so away from a Jewish temple, which was hit last night with some scumbags pasting posters that were Holocaust denial information sheets with links to websites and email addresses to get apparently a particular book about Holocaust denial from the Daily Stormer, which is the website for neo-Nazis and white supremacists. 100 yards from my house, right down my street. I wish I had been awake and heard something, because I have not done actual Nazi punching in my life, and I want to. I would like to get some good Nazi punching in sometime, and this was my golden opportunity, and I missed it. And aside from preventing just complete frickin' idiots doing something absolutely stupid to wonderful neighbors right down the street, and so screw them. Not the neighbors, the people who put up the posters, and I hope they get caught and accidentally fall into Marblehead Bay with rocks around their ankles on their way to jail. Not that I'm advocating murdering racist Nazi Klan scumbags, but if it happens. Anyway, this is coming out. So the story is that this Superman Smashes the Klan is written by Gene Luen Yang, and it is kind of based on the story of his family. In this case, it's a family, the Lee family, moved to Metropolis's Chinatown back in 1946. So we get the 1946 version of Superman, who comes in and tries to help them as they are being harassed, bullied, and tormented by the KKK. One of the kids is actually kidnapped. And I'm really, really excited that they're doing this, and I'm excited that they're doing this in a kid's book. And I didn't realize this. This is apparently inspired by a 1940s Superman radio serial called Clan of the Fiery Cross. In the 40s, folks, the writers of Superman's radio show were doing stories about how the Klan sucked. Yes. And God, that was 70 years ago, and we still haven't grown out of it. Damn it. I just made myself really depressed. Anyway, so October this is coming out. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it in every version I can. I'm going to show that, Anthony. So apparently, Anthony, they hid your comment, and I don't know whether it was because of the KKK or the word shit. So, and I hope I didn't just demonetize us. The word that you use referring to fecal matter, Anthony. There, I saved it. Anyway, if you want to represent punching Nazis, punching the Klan, punching white supremacists, get this book October of this year on your stands where you buy your favorite comic books. And hey, let's hope they turn this into a cartoon or something. And if Warner Brothers doesn't pick this up and turn this into one of their wonderful animated DC movies, I'm going to be really disappointed. Sweet Panda says, my sister loves your channel. Can you say hi to my sister? Norma, hello. I understand you can't watch right now, but when you do watch it, zoom all the way to the end. No, actually, don't watch the whole thing. But if you do have to, zoom all the way to the end. And hello, Norma. And I hope you're having fun at work. Anthony says there was actually an episode of Drunken History where they talked about the Klan episode of the radio serial. I'll have to check that out, Anthony. That sounds really cool. So that's our show tonight. That's all the news that we had. The news that was fit to print, as they used to say back when they printed news. And another thing, I made myself sad again because, God, I miss those days. Anyway, Rodney Brown, Editor-in-Chief of Nerd Caliber. For the good folks at Nerd Caliber, gosh, what is our next con coming up? Terrificon, I think? Oh, no, Pop Cult Anime Con. Folks, if you're in Massachusetts and you like anime cons, and you like low key, because they're brand new. They've only been up for 2 years. Small anime con. The Sheraton in Framingham. The first full weekend in August. I think it's the 3rd and 4th, 3 and 4. There's a calendar right there. I can do that. August 3rd and 4th, Pop Cult Anime Con. Look it up on Facebook, and it's super cheap and a lot of fun. Go get your tickets. And I mean, we're not associated with it, but I like the con a lot, and it's a good respite in between before the gigantic rush of the Fan Expo Bostons and the Dragon Cons and starting mid August through late or early November. It's con craziness, so that's a good one to sort of ease yourself into. Anyway, we will also see all of you next week, ideally. Come back Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, for more nerd news. And this is us, or me, the one us, signing off. Bye-bye.